Over the years, the UFC has seen its fair share of talented fighters rise and fall. While some have been released and later re-signed, others have faced permanent bans from the organisation. These bans are not handed out lightly and typically stem from severe breaches of conduct or repeated infractions that compromise the UFC's values and integrity. Daly. Paul Daly's career took a dramatic and regrettable turn during UFC 113 in Montreal in 2010. At that time, Daly was emerging as a top welterweight contender with a reputation for his knockout power and aggressive fighting style. The bout against Josh Koscheck was highly anticipated due to their intense rivalry and heated exchanges leading up to the fight. However, in a moment of heated frustration, Daly crossed a significant line of sportsmanship. After the final bell rang, instead of showing respect to his opponent, Daly threw a punch at Koscheck. This action shocked both fans and UFC officials, as it directly violated the organization's strict rules regarding conduct inside and outside the octagon. Despite Daly's subsequent success in promotions like Bellator, where he continued to showcase his skills and draw attention, his UFC career came to an abrupt end. UFC President Dana White publicly condemned Daly's unsportsmanlike conduct, emphasizing that such behavior had no place in the UFC. White made it clear that regardless of Daly's talents and potential achievements, the UFC would not tolerate actions that tarnish the sport's integrity. As a result, Daly was permanently banned from competing under the UFC banner. This decision not only severed Daly's ties with the premier MMA organization, but also served as a stern reminder to all fighters about the importance of respect, sportsmanship, and adherence to the UFC's code of conduct. Despite Daly's efforts in other arenas of MMA, including becoming a fan favorite in Bellator, his UFC ban remains a defining chapter in his career, overshadowing his accomplishments with the enduring mark of his controversial exit from the sport's biggest stage. Ufc Fighters. Ufc Fighters gained renown in MMA circles for his unparalleled grappling abilities, particularly his knack for securing submissions with efficiency and precision. However, his career was marred by controversy due to a recurring issue: holding on to submissions well after his opponents had tapped out or the referee intervened. This conduct, widely condemned as unsafe and unsportsmanlike, ultimately resulted in his expulsion from the UFC, despite his undeniable skills inside the octagon. Fighters' grappling acumen was undeniable. He possessed a rare talent for latching onto submission holds, often catching opponents in precarious positions from which escape seemed impossible. Yet it was his reluctance to release these submissions promptly that drew considerable backlash. In multiple instances, even after opponents had tapped or referees had intervened to stop the fight, Fighters continued to maintain his grips, posing unnecessary risks to his opponent's well-being. Despite Fighters' impressive record and his potential as a top-tier competitor, the UFC's decision to sever ties with him underscored the non-negotiable importance of fighter safety and the necessity for all athletes to uphold the highest standards of respect and sportsmanship in the octagon. Mina. Mina's departure from the UFC was precipitated by a troubling betting scandal that implicated his coach, James Krause. The controversy erupted following a fight where Mina sustained an injury, prompting suspicious movements in the betting lines just before the bout. This raised significant ethical red flags within the MMA community and led to investigations by both the Nevada Athletic Commission and the FBI. James Krause, known for his involvement in the MMA betting scene, had built a reputation around sharing insights and predictions with a community of gambling enthusiasts. However, allegations surfaced that Krause and potentially other associated with Mina's camp had capitalized on the insider knowledge about Mina's condition, betting against him due to his compromised state. The UFC, staunch in its stance against any form of misconduct that could compromise the integrity of its competitions, swiftly responded to the scandal. Both Mina and Krause were indefinitely suspended from participating in UFC events. This disciplinary action underscored the organization's commitment to upholding fair play and maintaining trust among its athletes and fans alike. Mina's case highlighted the serious consequences of violating UFC's strict anti-gambling policies. The incident not only tarnished his career, but also cast a shadow over the reputation of those involved. While the specifics of the betting scandal and its full implications were subject to ongoing legal scrutiny, the UFC's decision to ban Mina underscored its unwavering commitment to preserving the integrity and credibility of MMA competition at all costs. Jason High. Jason High's UFC career came to an abrupt end following a controversial incident during his fight against Rafael dos Anjos. In a heated moment after a disputed stoppage in the second round, High reacted emotionally and pushed referee Kevin Mulhall, expressing his disagreement with the decision. The physical altercation with an official violated the UFC's strict code of conduct, which emphasizes respect for referees as paramount to the sport's integrity. Despite issuing a public apology via social media for his actions, High's apology was considered insufficient to mitigate the severity of his offense. UFC President Dana White swiftly condemned High's behavior, stating unequivocally that physical conduct with a referee under any circumstances would not be tolerated. White's decision to permanently remove High from the UFC roster underscored the organization's commitment to upholding the professionalism and sportsmanship expected of its athletes. Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle, once a promising prospect in the UFC, saw his career abruptly halted due to repeated violations involving cannabis use. Riddle initially gained recognition through the Ultimate Fighter show in 2008 and went on to compete in the welterweight division with notable performances. Between 2012 and 2013, he secured impressive victories, showcasing his potential in the octagon. However, Riddle's career trajectory took a downturn when he tested positive for cannabis after two of his fights against Chris Clements and Che Mills. During this time, the UFC and its management, particularly Dana White, expressed strong disapproval of Riddle's actions, citing their zero-tolerance policy towards drug use. Despite shifting societal attitudes towards marijuana, the UFC maintained strict guidelines against its use, especially for its athletes given the sport's physical demands and regulatory standards. What exacerbated Riddle's situation was his public commentary on cannabis use, which further fueled the controversy surrounding his case. In interviews and statements, Riddle openly discussed his reasons for using cannabis, which did not align with the UFC's expectations of professionalism and adherence to rules. Dana White publicly criticized Riddle for his comments, describing him as lacking foresight and responsibility, further straining their professional relationship. Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva's tenure in the UFC came to an abrupt end amidst serious legal issues that overshadowed his career in the octagon. A talented fighter known for his aggressive style, Silva's trajectory in the UFC was marred by off-the-field incidents that drew significant attention and controversy. In 2014, Silva faced severe legal trouble when he was arrested by the SWAT team of the Broward County Sheriff's Office at his home in Florida. The charges against him included allegations of driving to the gym of his BJJ coach and threatening his ex-wife, Taisa Kamiji, and Coach Popovich with a firearm. The incident escalated quickly, leading to Silva's arrest and subsequent legal proceedings. Despite the charges, Silva's legal situation took a surprising turn when the judge in Florida dismissed all allegations against him due to insufficient evidence. This decision initially suggested a potential resolution to Silva's legal woes, but the fallout from the incident had already left a significant impact on his professional career, particularly within the UFC. The UFC, under the leadership of Dana White and in adherence to its stringent standards of conduct, took decisive action in response to Silva's legal troubles. Even though the legal system absolved Silva of criminal liability, the UFC opted to sever ties with him permanently. The organization's decision reflected its commitment to upholding a positive image and maintaining high ethical standards among its fighters. These fighters' bans serve as reminders of the UFC's commitment to maintaining integrity, safety, and respect within the sport. While some have found success elsewhere, their actions within the UFC have permanently severed their ties with the organization, shaping their legacies in mixed martial art history.